Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to this call. I'm very excited to share with you about this amazing technology, this patch. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. All right. I should be able to see if people are coming in. Let's see. Let's put this over here. Maybe that will be better. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Andeea. I am a licensed addiction counselor and I'm board certified in quantum biology. And on my social media, I'm at Andeea Rae. So you may know me from there. But I just want to thank you so much for being here today. I know that time is our most precious thing we have here on this earth, and you're here to learn about this patch today. So we're going to jump right in. But really quick, I just want to say that, I've seen many, many miracles with this patch, and I wouldn't be taking my own time and doing any of this if it wasn't worth sharing. And this patch is just really, really revolutionary in the field of regenerative medicine that I can't shut up about it, to be honest with you. And if you need to hop off, that is totally okay. This will be recorded and I will send out the link for you to watch. And then just make sure that you connect with the person that invited you to the call today. I want to just start by saying, I was not taught anything about light in my undergraduate or graduate degrees, and nor were many of the doctors and nurses that are in this quantum biology space with me. And with this patch, not only myself, but these people have decades in the medical field and education behind them, and they have never seen healing like they have with this patch. So I'm really, really excited to share about it with you today. So this is just a disclaimer. We are, not claiming to, diagnose, treat, or cure. This is for educational purposes only. This is not a consultation by any means. So I guess I just want to start with, why are we even interested in this? And, why are we looking for healing? And there's this saying that goes, we only are as old as we feel. And sometimes our bodies, they don't keep up, or we have just low energy. We struggle to stay motivated. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to kind of trickle in my own testimony, but that was certainly me. I had a lot of trouble with motivation and I wasn't able to focus. And I think there's so many people who can relate to this, having low energy and just your body like not feeling like it can keep up. And we're also told in our society that, oh, this is normal. This is the aging process. But it really doesn't need to be. It doesn't we don't need to feel this way. And I wouldn't have been able to say that just less than 5 months ago. So imagine if you could just feel for a second that you could feel more energized, play with your kids, be crawling around with your grandchildren, your relationships, having energy for them, having energy to maintain friendships as an adult, and just going into a room and remembering why you went in there, or reading a book and remembering everything on the page after you've been reading it, or just not forgetting things, what you're going to say when you're in mid conversation, and walking around more freely with no discomfort, no pain, and just with a overall reduced stress. Stress is one of the most common reasons for illness. And of course, in the last 5 years, we've all been even extra stressed, and extra havoc has been wreaking on our systems because of this whole situation that we've been in. So I didn't really know about stem cells at all, and I don't know, I really never needed to care about them. I didn't think. When I remember in biology learning about stem cells, and I associated them with babies. I knew babies had stem cells, and I it made sense to me, and I really didn't do much learning about it ever since. And then, you know, decades later, I heard about stem cell therapy, but I didn't even ever think like about me myself needing it at the time. I was younger and it just wasn't something that I had looked into. And in the medical field, they are taught that stem cells decline and that you don't really have them as you grow older. But we do have stem cells still in our body. But unfortunately, by the age of 30, our healthy stem cells have decreased by 60%. And by the age of 60, they've decreased 90%. So I also want to just take a moment to touch on typical stem cell treatment. It's very expensive. It's very invasive. You have to put a shot in, so let's say you're doing stem cell in your knee, you're getting other, they're not yours, they're someone else's. They go into your knee and they only work about 50% of the time. And of course, this is an out-of-pocket thing. So ma many people can't afford it because it's tens of thousands of dollars. And this is it's just a simple sticker that you put on the body. And the fewer stem cells that you have, the faster that you age, and then the slower, you heal. And when cells die off in the body, the stem cells that, come to replace them, they have less ability to repair the damage. And, this is why we don't heal like we did when we were younger. And here, give me one second. I just want to move this. So light. So light is really not a new concept when it comes to healing. We have evolved under light forever. In fact, the sun is like 4.6 billion years old. And so this word phototherapy, which may have been, used when you were introduced to this patch or invited to this presentation today, it's just a fancy way of saying that light is used for healing. And but it's not just the light outside of us, it's actually the light inside of us. And when it comes to using specific frequencies, this is somewhat of a newer technology, and it's called photobiomodulation. Now, I want to break this word up because it's a very intimidating word, but photo means light, bio is body, and modulation is change. So it's light changing the body. And it uses specific wavelengths of light to activate cellular energy production, promotes tissue repair and wound healing, reduces inflammation. And, I never really thought about my light environment at all until I started studying. Actually, I started with a health coach and I learned about light a little bit. But then when I started studying quantum biology, it just blew my mind open. And there's that saying of like a fish in water, the fish doesn't know it's in water. Well, we live in light and we don't really think about it. And, it's all around us. Another thing I want to just point out is for like explaining activation. So when you think about the sun, like the sun, we get vitamin D from the sun, but the sun isn't making it. The sun actually signals to our cells to make it, and that is going to cause that change in the body. So I want to talk about the power of the peptide. So this patch is, we're going to talk about the power of the patch, but first I want to explain the power of this peptide. So the power of this peptide, it comes from the copper peptide GHKCU. So that is a 3 amino acid peptide that stands for glycine, histidine, and lysine, for those of you who are curious. And then the Cu is short for copper. And this was discovered in 1973 by Dr. Lauren Picard, and he has over 50 years of research. So if you want to dive into this, you can go into PubMed, and there is so much literature there for you to read. And this is what is activating your stem cells to actually not only activate them, but also increase the number of them. And then when it comes to the power of the patch, so we know about the peptide, and then how does that correlate with the patch? So as you can see on my wrist, I'm wearing a patch, and you can see it in the hand of the person on the screen. It is just about the size of a quarter. It's quite small. And you can see kind of like the middle circle, that is where the patent is. That is the lattice structure. And that is where there is key light frequencies being reflected back into the body, which stimulate that copper peptide. And there's a 20-year patent on this, and we're 4 years into that patent. I want to say too, when I think of patches, I think of transdermal patches. So a transdermal patch is where, there's medicine or something put inside the patch. You put the patch on your skin, and then that medicine seeps into your skin transdermally. So, when we think of an estrogen patch or a nicotine patch, I wore nicotine patches when I quit smoking many, many years ago. Those are transdermal patches. This patch is non-transdermal, meaning there's nothing going into the skin. It's using that light. It's that light technology that's being used. And by the way, too, I think I forgot to mention this, that there are over 10,000 studies on photobiomodulation that you can look up in PubMed. It's a very, very well researched, and there's over 90 specific ones on this patch, and we'll get to that as well. But basically, I know a lot of people will ask me this. They'll be like, well, what's in the patch? So what's it's made up of is salts, amino acids, sugars, water, and oxygen. And that's going to form that crystal lattice, which is the where the patent is, that's what's patented. And that is going to reflect your body's infrared light back into your body to increase that GHKCU peptide and activate and increase your own stem cells. So that's how that reactivating is happening. And the benefits. So this is just some of the benefits. These are the main ones. Of course, it's going to reduce inflammation. And I didn't know this till I was studying either, that inflammation is the basis of all chronic disease. And you can imagine being able to alleviate or reverse symptoms without having to take pharmaceuticals. Many people are living with chronic disease, and I actually looked it up. And the last research that I found was in 2021, 51.6 million people are suffering with chronic disease. It's about 21%. And, this is not just about healing, but it's about health. So I actually got this patch for my mom. My mom has polymyalgia. She was in a lot of pain, and she was just my main focus. And I put the patches on, and more for vanity. I was like, well, who doesn't want to reverse their age? I'll put the patch on. And to my surprise, I did have inflammation in my body, and I had no idea. And I was feeling really good. But I tell you, like, I thought my sleep was good from, all of the health things that I do for myself. But this patch really has accelerated me into a place where I had no idea I could feel this way. So it's really, really cool. Many, many famous athletes, and I'll have a picture in a little while here. Many famous athletes wear this patch to accelerate their health. But balancing improves muscle and bone density. It improves strength, stamina, and energy levels. In fact, energy levels is one of the first things I always hear people share, and then also how it has improved their sleep quality, mental clarity, and reduced stress, and hair growth, skin appearance, cellular repair, wound healing, all of these things. And when we talk about hair, hair like hair, skin, and nails. So because it increases collagen, which is the most abundant protein in the body, and it's so vital to our infrastructure of our body, our fascia, which is basically holding everything together. This is really the communication superhighway of the body. And another thing about collagen is that it actually forms a triple helix. So most of us are really familiar with DNA. DNA forms a double helix. But what's unique about the collagen is it's a triple helix, which allows it to hold in the inside of it a nanotubule of water. And that's really, really important because this patch is a light technology. Well, guess how light travels through the body? It is actually through that network. It is through that water network of the body. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to stay hydrated. And we'll talk about that specifically in a little bit. But when it comes to the sleep quality, there's 50 to 70 million people with sleep disorder of some kind. And this is really, really critical for repairs. I actually work in the addiction field, and certainly people with addiction have, unbalanced circadian rhythms, and sleep is always something that, it's a always listed in their withdrawal. And this keeps us from repairing at night when we don't sleep well. So this is very, very, very critical that we get good sleep, and also energy. The energy we also just need for the healing in general. All right. So the X39, the long-term results. So in the first few days, this is quite miraculous. And I know somebody just recently told me that David Schmidt was talking, the inventor of this patch, which I'm going to also get to too, and was speaking about the new research around this. And we know that this is actually reversing over 4,000 genes in the genome. To be exact, it's 4,192. That's that's a lot because our makeup is about 20,000, give or take. So There's also a like with red wine. The reason people drink red wine is for resveratrol, and resveratrol is also a supplement that is now you can get in the stores. And the reason around the big hype around resveratrol is that it also helps reduce age and it reverses the age of a whole two genes in the genome, where this one is where this patch is reversing over 4,000. And I'll also want to make a note that so that's just a really big deal. Like you're going to take a whole supplement to reverse two. It's just mind blowing that it gets that so much attention. And being in the addiction field, I'm always explaining to people that about the wine thing, but that's another topic. I can't go down that tangent, but just saying. This is also something in the first few days, you're not really necessarily going to feel it. Just like how when we take a supplement, I take food grade supplements, desiccated oyster and Body Bio PC, which is they're both food-based supplements, and I don't feel them working when I take them. I just know that they're good for me and I take them and I'm not actually feeling anything. So this first few days, some people do feel something definitely. They're not everybody, but I'm just making a point here that there are people that go like 4 months without feeling anything before or even longer. And that is just because of the way the patch works. Like we don't always feel it. Within 6 weeks, our brain is going to become more balanced. For me, I didn't really know I had brain fog at all until it actually lifted and I started having more clarity and ability to focus. And it just kind of came out of nowhere one day. And I was never a person to say, oh, I have brain fog. I had no idea I had that. Of course, and then the 3 months collagen is increased, and by six, the heart reverses in age. And I know Dr. Rachel's going to share a little bit of her testimony and why she got her mother on this patch. And, most certainly if my dad was still alive, I would have had him on this patch because he died of a heart condition. And this quote from David Schmidt, he says it's not anti-aging because we always hear that term, right? Anti-aging. I was also in the skincare field for a really long time and everything, all the hype was anti-aging everything, anti-aging everything. And this is actually age reversal. So that is just always hits me like with surprise. Like I can't even believe it. Like this is a very, very cool technology to have at our fingertips. All right, so how to wear it? It's quite simple. You place the patch on. You can see on the woman here, it's on the back of her neck. You really can put the patch anywhere on the body. I have a patch on my hand here today, so I could show you. But you wear it for 12 hours on and 12 hours off. And a lot of times people like I've been in I'm an addiction counselor, so I've taught behavior change for a very long time. And whenever it comes to behavior change and changing something, people are always asking, well, how much time will that take me? How can I fit this in? And this patch is literally going to it's going to take you longer to brush your teeth than to put on this patch. So yeah, just know that. And then also you can remove it. When you remove it, there is a little bit of life left in the patch, about 16 to 18 hours of life left in the patch. So that means that it's going to have about, anywhere from 4 to 6. And I like to put mine on my dog the next day, or you could put it on a plant. I do put patches on my plants as well. And I have noticed that it has made a difference. And then you put a new one on every single day. They come in a sleeve like this. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see my screen, I'm holding it up, but it comes in a sleeve of 30 of them. And you also want to make sure that, you're drinking a lot of water and electrolytes and copper. I'm going to get to in a second. But so first, the water. So it's very important that you're drinking clean filtered water. And then also with electrolytes, I like to use Soleil. Soleil is just Himalayan salt soaking in water, and I do that in the morning. And then I put a little bit of very high quality salt in my water. Now, you can use electrolytes however you do that. There's lots of electrolytes these days. Just make sure you have a very good quality one. And that's actually going to hold the water in the body. If you don't add electrolytes, you're going to just be drinking that bulk water and peeing it out. So you do want to make sure that you have the electrolytes. They do make a big difference. And with the copper, so with the copper, we want to make sure that we are eating like I would I mean for me, I guess I should speak for myself. I like to do food-based instead of supplement. So some foods that are high in copper are going to be organ meats, seafood, oysters, seaweed, avocados, cashews, sunflower seeds, a little square of dark chocolate. If you don't need the whole bar, you just need a little square, and that's enough for the day. And it's crazy because way back in the day, we would get like 4 milligrams of copper through the food we eat. And now we're lucky if we get 1 milligram. So this is really important. And also just to note, the patch itself does not increase copper in the body. It uses copper to bind to the copper peptide. So often people will ask that. And just know that the patch itself is not increasing copper. It's in the body and it uses copper to bind to the copper peptide. And that's why it's important to supply the body with copper. All right. So what to expect? We're going to be hearing some testimonies from some people today, certainly. But I just want to note it's really important that we don't compare ourselves to others. We hear a lot of times we'll hear testimonies and we think like, what's going to happen for me? But we all are so different. We're all an N equals one. We are all given a different set of genetic instructions, and there's just no way that we can predict anything. We all are different ages, different weights, our environment, our emotional environment, our toxin load, our lifestyles. We're all just so different. So we're all going to be in different stages of repair when we place the patch onto our bodies. And it's just, it's going to happen in the sequence it happens. Like, let's say that you want to take the patch because of maybe you have a bad knee or something like this, and or migraines or a heart problem or whatever you have. Your body's going to prioritize the necessity. So when you think that you might want something resolved, it might something else might be needing repair or what have you that it's going to prioritize first. I know Dr. Rachel always shares about her friend who had really bad headaches and he really wanted those headaches to be resolved. But what went first was he didn't actually need his eyeglasses anymore. So his body prioritized his eyes. Maybe that actually was connected with his headaches. Who knows? But that's what was prioritized. Many people get tired, my husband included. My goodness, I actually did not get tired when I started the patches, but my husband, different case. He was very tired at the first week, and that actually is a sign that it is working. And we just want to really remember that it's going to take energy for the body to heal. And when it takes extra energy for the body to heal, it makes sense that we're going to feel a little bit tired because our body's working and getting used to having our stem cells start to wake up and do work. So it's very amazing. And we do want to honor our body and give our body what it needs. You might want to get some extra sleep. Practicing breathing through the nose is going to allow more oxygen to reach your mitochondria. And that, my friends, is where the energy is made. So that is important. All right, so this is a very cool visual of a woman. She's 77-year-old woman who placed the X39 patch on the back of her neck, and you can see on the far left, red is indicative of inflammation, and so that's what we don't want to see. She had some inflammation in the brain, and what we want to see on this type of scan is the light blue and the green, because that means everything is communicating and there's coherence in the body. And as you can see, she was wearing the patch for just 3 weeks. In the middle photo here, she's got literally no red. There's a teeny bit of orange there, but no red. And in 6 weeks, completely a turnaround here. Like her brain was quite hyperactive, and it was a dramatic difference in just 6 weeks. More results for you to kind of get visual. So hair, for me personally, I am in recovery 17 years and I used methamphetamines for 12 years of my life and my hair was so thin. It took so many years. It wasn't actually till probably a good 4 years ago where my hair was finally not feeling so thin and it was growing a little bit longer than like it would never go past my shoulder. And my hair is just growing like crazy, and it definitely feels healthier and thicker. And you can see in these photos, specifically the one in the lower left is quite dramatic. And I know Alina, who's on this call, she has had some great before and after pictures she's posted of her hair growth. And then on the right hand side, this woman has scoliosis, which is this curvature of the spine. And so, just so there's no confusion, she's actually wearing two different kinds of patches. The company's been around for 20 years. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but she's wearing the X39 on her upper back, and on her lower back, she's actually wearing Icewave patches. And those patches are for pain. So today we are specifically talking about the X39, but you can see just after 4 weeks, she is standing up quite like almost perfectly straight, if not perfectly straight. So that is very, very amazing. And then some more photos here on the left. You see a woman with vitiligo. And this is a condition where there's a lighter part of the skin that doesn't have any melanin. And you can see her back is all splotchy. And then on the right side photo, I'm not sure about how long she was wearing the patches. It doesn't say, but she's got a nice even tone. And you can even see like her tan line kind of from her swimsuit. There's a kind of a cross there in her back. So you can definitely see she's got an even amount of melanin in her skin now. And then on the right hand side, now I'm no doctor, but I know based on what Rachel has said and shared and other doctors in this space, they have not seen healing like this ever. And post-operatively, they will give patients patches because of the speedy recovery that they see. And this is a beautiful example of that in this photo. You can see this person's first day. This is a knee surgery, this huge cut. And this is only after 2 days of wearing the patch. It's already completely closed. That's quite remarkable. So it's no wonder why so many doctors in this space are using this and making sure their customer or their patients know about this amazing technology so they're not suffering longer than needed. Here's just a photo of a lot of famous athletes and celebrities that wear the patch. I don't know the names of all these people, you guys, but I do know that that's Mike Tyson down in the lower left, and then Serena, and in the middle is RFK Jr., and then up in the upper right is, oh goodness, he's the one married to the Spice Girl.
David Beckham.
Thank you, David Beckham. And then lots of Olympic swim people here, but all loving the patch because it's accelerating their health to the next level. And I'm sure their performance. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because we're going to have some people share their testimonies. Now, Laura, I know that you have to get going, so why don't you start us off with your testimony?
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm what they call a one patch wonder. Not everybody is a one patch wonder. It just means that I saw a symptom change day one, and that what just I should really paint the picture. August 15th of 2024, I broke my tibial plateau in about 10 pieces and falling off my bike. It was a really silly, unfortunate accident. And it was about the 2 month mark after I had surgery, early September, that I heard about the patches, and that's another story. And I put on the X39 the very first day, and I put it on in the morning because I wanted to get my 12 hours. And 12 hours later, I think I was wearing pants at this point. So I wasn't really looking at anything and at my leg at all. And I took it off that night, and lo and behold, I had swelling in my ankle that I had had for like it had been building since the surgery, which was worrying me because this swelling, I was wondering if there was a lymph node damage. That's what other people were telling me because we were all starting to get a little bit worried because I was concerned about getting my foot into a shoe. I was only in flip flops at this point, so it was gone that night, completely gone. And so, but the skeptic in me went, okay, what's gonna, overnight, that's fine, that's great. But the next morning it was gone. I wore the patch again the next day and the next day and the next day. And then there was somewhere in there, I forgot the patch. And I was in this mindset of, I need to get the full 12 hours, I need to get my money's worth out of this patch. And anyway, I've since let that go, but I missed a day or two here and there, and it never came back. And now we're talking, almost 5 months, maybe 5.5, and it has never come back. And then the swelling in my knee is actually is so much better. And my knee itself is, I'm beyond sort of predictions of the surgeon and the physio. So I kind of credit that to X39. I've been pairing it with X49, but I'll save that for another time because I'm really super excited about the X49 patch as well as the X39. So I really, really love the combo, but really everybody here focus on the X39 because that's where I got my one patch wonder. And I think it's a good idea to wear it alone to really see what does X39 do. I'm glad I didn't throw another patch on right away, but I leave that to everybody else. So that's the majority. There's other things, but I'll leave that for today.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you sharing.
You're welcome.
All right, Diane, would you like to share your testimony?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I love seeing everybody's faces that are doing amazing things in this industry. So thank you, Laura. So my name is Diane Hunt. I was a critical care cardiac nurse for 20 years in New York City. Just looking at that picture, we did so many saphenous vein grafts for open heart surgery. And I wish I had those patches because yes, those scars are, and that recovery is amazing. So it is mind blowing. I just want everybody to know I have never seen miracles like I have seen in my 2 years with this company. And yes, I have my own miracle. Like Laura, I was a one patch wonder. I got COVID very early on before maybe it was really even a thing. Maybe, I don't even know. I didn't test, but whatever. Something lingered on and caused my lungs and my heart to have issues and to be compromised. So I was dealing with shortness of breath. I would be walking my dogs, and people would think I'd be running if I was talking to them on the phone. So I would get very winded. And then what was happening is I would start having palpitations. And being a cardiac nurse for 20 years, I was concerned to say the least. But I didn't want to go into the medical community for another treatment, a pill, or anything like that. So I was praying, please, God, bring me something that's natural, that's healing. I do many, many things that are natural and healing. Yes, I could always be better, as I'm like reminded here on this call. Where are my glasses, Diane? Put them on. But with that being said, I just was, with all the things I had, was not improving. And so a friend in Florida reached out to me, another nurse, said, I know you're into all this holistic stuff. Have you heard of these patches? And I was so surprised that this company's been around for 20 years that I have not heard of it. And so it sat in my back office for a little bit before I had time to look at it. And thankfully, she was consistent reaching out because, again, right, like we put our stuff on the top shelf sometimes while we have kids and dogs and family. And so she reminded me to take a look at it. And so I took a look and I saw it helps with inflammation, it helps with pain. I had a dad dealing with a lot of stuff also health wise. And then the heart reverses your cardiac age. So I was in. I was like, give me the big kit. Let's go. I put a patch on. Within the first 24 hours, my lungs improved drastically. I did not feel that shortness of breath. And then I never had another palpitation since then. And to me, that's like miraculous in and of itself. But then as time went on, like hot flashes went away. Like I don't even know I'm getting my period because it just comes. I have no like premenstrual stuff at all. Dry eye floaters gone. Like come 9 o'clock at night, my dry eye was so bad I'd have to like hold it open to carry on a conversation with my husband or my kids. And sometimes I just went to bed because I didn't want to deal with it. So 9 o'clock bedtime. But yeah, my list goes on and on. My dad, plantar fasciitis, gout, sciatic pain at his rate was 8 out of 10. That went away, but his was 4 months. So that's the biggest takeaway, guys. Like it's a matter of being consistent, staying on it. Like Andeea said, we take all these supplements, vitamins, and if you do, right? And not necessarily do we feel anything, but we just take them. Well, this is being proactive with your health. That I think the best thing you can do for your health and well-being and vitality is to be on these patches to, not get any worse. And so with that being said, I just want to leave this earth knowing my name and wearing my boots and no diaper. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Diane, so much.
Sure.
Rachel, would you like to share yours?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes, Andeea. So I'm going to try to make this succinct for you. I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for close to 20 years. And I have now been using these patches and with my mom for close to a year. I think we're at 11 months now. And I had not been taught anything to do with actually how the body actually how the body works and health, because in medical school we learn to manage disease processes. So I started to learn about light a couple of years ago, and that really changed everything for me in my understanding. And then I happened to come across these patches at a time where my mom's health was really starting to decline. Now she has multiple medical issues. She's 83 years old. One of the biggest ones was heart failure. And her doctors are talking about surgery. And that is happened to be when I came across the information on these patches. And then I was connected to the lovely Diane Hunt here, who just described she was a cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years. And she started sharing with me not just stories, but actual investigations of people's heart functions improving in ways that I had never seen in my 30 years in traditional medicine without artificial intervention, meaning actually something being implanted in the heart. And so because of learning how these patches are non-transdermal, there's literally zero downside. Any side effect is actually a benefit. It's a bonus side effect. So I got my mom on them, myself, have her be the guinea pig. And she went from us walking daily and having to stop and catch your breath every 2 to 3 steps to within 2 weeks walking on a significant incline, talking to me and walking faster. And that was only 2 weeks, which was, again, it was shocking to me. Within 3 weeks, she had to have her thyroid medication lowered that she'd been on for over 30 years. She's significantly overweight. So over time, she has started to lose some fat. So not just, and it was noticeable for me, which it wasn't before when she would tell me she would lose 10 or 15 pounds. She started to lose a lot of her spider veins. Her varicose veins started diminishing. She had a lot of skin issues, which have about 80% cleared up. She just has overall a lot more energy, looks vibrant. Everyone that comes across her that knows her, if they haven't seen her for a period of weeks or months, says that she looks like an entirely new person. So that's my mom. I did not necessarily have a lot going on that I thought. I come across so many people too that say, well, I'm really healthy. Why should I use these patches? Things that we don't think about as problems, or we get so used to, for example, gum recession. My gum recession is now not just stopped, but it's getting better. I had this little bump, which is not really all that visible anymore, but come up on my forehead, a little bone, basically the size of a large marble. I tried to get rid of that with a whole bunch of things. Nothing worked. The patches now, 8 months later, it's now the size of a small pea. Things like I had athlete's foot as a child as a teenager, because I swam a lot, went into my toenails for years, tried oral antifungals, topical antifungals, nothing worked. I just gave up and didn't even think about it again. But now, again, 8 months later, looking at my toenails, they are 60% cleared up. So that's after having that in my nails for 40 years. It's another thing that I didn't mention. Sleep. My sleep is much deeper. And I used to wake up at a pin drop. And anyone who has kids, I think, knows that anything, a little whisper would wake me up. And now I don't hear when my kids come home, and I get in a panic thinking they haven't come home yet. I got sick in 2020 and my cognitive function took a nosedive, and I tried a bunch of different things. Nothing really helped. And it was being on the patches maybe 8-9 weeks that I noticed a significant change, a lot of mental clarity, word finding, ability to focus, being able to articulate myself again. So that's a really big deal. And yeah, that is, well, actually, I was going to say that that's really what's going on in my family, but both my kids are using them. And I just wanted to share that my son, who was always the one who got sick, he's 20 actually next week. And he said for the first time, he's away at university, he did not get sick once throughout this entire winter. And he's been in front of screens, lives in a dorm, is not eating the best food. And all of his friends have been getting sick and taken out like for a week or two at a time. And he's been wearing the patch consistently. And yeah, just another little thing too is I'm at my daughter's dance competition, and one of the girls got injured and her neck was really sore. And I stuck on one of the patches and like instantly her pain was down to a 0. So it's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. I actually had a lady come to my door the other day with her little boy, and they were selling flowers. And I bought some flowers to support them, but they didn't have change for me. And she had to go home to get change. And she was like, "Oh, you're going to have to give me a couple hours because I have this knee problem." And I was like, "Come in the house." I'm like, "I have something for you." I'm like, "Come in my house." And I patched her knee. And she stood up within 20 seconds and she said, "What is this magic?" And I said, "Well, you wear that for 24 hours and you come back in a day after you look at this website and you tell me what you think." But yeah, this is just, it's so miraculous, so miraculous. Thank you everyone for sharing your testimonies. I am going to continue here and share my screen again. Okay, we're going to start back with David Schmidt. So David Schmidt is the founder, the inventor, the CEO of Lifewave. And part of the reason that I love this company so much is because of him and his innovations and everything that is coming, but also everything that consists in the company to this day. Now, this slide says there's over 150 patents. And I was actually told David's so humble that he'll never say he has more than 200 patents because I think it's his dad who doesn't have that many patents and he doesn't want to like showboat in front of his dad, which I think is the cutest thing. But there's actually over 200 patents now, and I believe there's over 90 clinical trials as well. And Lifewave is a 20-year-old company. And we're in over 80 countries. And this company went from a $20 million company to a $600 million company just in 3 years because of the X39 patch. The growth from that patch came since 2019. And so this company might not seem like it's so old. It might seem new or have a newness feel. And that's the reason why, is because the growth happened just, in the last, what is it now? It'd be 5 years. But I just want to give you a little history on him. So he actually never thought of bringing his inventions to the market or anything like that. He started as an independent contractor and he worked for the government. He worked for the Navy SEALs and he was helping with their survival equipment, inventing things, doing what geniuses do. And they asked him to invent something that has no stimulants because a lot of times these guys they're up for like 36 plus hours and they needed something with no stimulants because of course you want something with no risk, no side effects and no potential for addiction, right? And he created that. It's called the energy patch and it's still around to this day. But after 9/11 happened, they were really focused on other things and they let him go. But through all of his networking and connections and whatnot, he actually trialed the patches on the female Stanford swim team. And within 6 out of 8 of them, within the first few weeks, were beating their own records. And then they went to trial it on the Olympic team. And again, beating all the records that their own personal records and winning, that the anti-doping team was called in, but they couldn't find anything because remember I explained this patch is non-transdermal, nothing's going into the body. So of course they were allowed to use it. So now after 10 years and $4.5 million in the research of stem cells and regenerative medicine, the X39 was born. And it has really just taken this company to a whole nother level. And, we always encourage people to do your own research. There's this wonderful website. I'm going to say it a few times so you know. This is at info.com. This is at info.com. It has all the testimonies, all the patents, all the case studies. Everything is on it. And we encourage you to read it. And this is what you're looking at. This is actually a 22-page patent on the X39. And really, it can all be summed up by the little sentence here on the left that says embodiments as results of elevating copper peptide, including activation of stem cells, energy improvements, elevation of antioxidants. And I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but like I don't know. I never had to deal with patents in my whole life, and I just never really knew what went into a patent. My grandpa actually invented an engine that ran on steam and like a long time ago, and I remember like he didn't patent it, but like my mom has it. She has it in her house. It's like a little like this kind of thing, like this little statue in the living room. But any which way, to get a patent, you need to prove that what you invented works. And so there are over 200 of these patents. So that is just goes to show all of the hard work and the dedication that David has to get this information and this technology to the people to lessen the suffering of everybody. And also, I want to add that there are just so many doctors, so many naturopaths, functional medicine doctors, chiropractors, dentists, dermatologists, pharmacists who have many, many, many years of education behind them that are joining this company because of the science behind it. And it works. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right. So, results that go beyond the surface. So there's just a lot more to this patch than meets the eye. It's not just about the physical and mental health changes, although that is mostly why we end up putting this patch on in the first place. But everything downstream from that, like improving relationships, being able to be around your family, spending more time with people, and actually having the energy to say yes to things and not saying no to things because you're too tired or what have you. You're able to just participate in life and travel and do things that you weren't able to do before. I used to be so stagnant and when it came to working out, like it just has always ebbed and flowed in my life and I'll go through spurts, but it never lasts for very long. And ever since wearing this patch, I have so much energy that it's from the energy that I am now motivated to work out 6 days a week. And it's not a burden. It used to be a burden, and I understand why now. It was because I was fatigued. I was tired all the time. Now there's also a financial opportunity to this patch. And that's not why I joined this company. I joined this company because my mom had polymyalgia and I needed to get this patch on her. My mom was suffering. She could not walk. Her pain in her legs was so bad. And it was devastating to see my mom like that because my mom is like a very hard worker and she owns a shop and she's always doing things. It was heartbreaking to see her that way. And she's been wearing the patch a little over 5 months now, and she no longer has that pain in her legs. And she is almost off of her medication. She went down from 3 pills to a half a pill. So she's right there on the edge of not having that medication, which was one of her goals, right? And that's really why I got on it. And I didn't want her to be doing it alone. So I was like, like I said earlier, who doesn't want to reverse their age? So I put the patch on myself. And, I was like, well, why not have the patch pay for itself and share this with people? And as I started hearing stories and testimonies of people, I could not share it. When I hear somebody tell me, like that woman who came to my door and told me about her knee pain, I couldn't not share with her what I had in my house that could alleviate her pain momentarily. So this is something that, it will go as far as you want it to go. But that's why I started sharing it, is because of all the miracles I was seeing. And I couldn't keep my mouth shut. Now, there's 3 different ways to get this patch and enroll. I know, everybody always wants to know how much does it cost. So it only costs $3.33 a day to wear this patch if you sign up as a preferred customer or a brand partner. Retail customers will pay $150 for a sleeve. The sleeve looks like this, and it's got 30 patches in it. Now, I don't really ever share that with people because why would you want somebody to pay extra $50 per sleeve? You would definitely want to encourage them to sign up as a preferred customer. There's no extra fee with that or anything like that, but they get the wholesale pricing of $100 a sleeve per month. And I really do always encourage people to sign up as a brand partner because there's no commitment when it comes to the business. You do not have to share it with anybody, but you would still get access to certain pricing, and also you would get commission if you did share it with anybody, but you have access to other pricing benefits that other people don't. So it does benefit you to become a brand partner, even if in your mind, you're not going to do the business. But let me tell you, every single person I sign up as a preferred customer, they end up coming back to me because they want to share the patch, because they're having a great experience with the patch that they want to share it. And sometimes it takes them to, have that experience to realize that. So let's see here. The last thing I want to share is the packages. So I always tell people, what you're looking at here, this is not monthly price of the patches. This is what you get the patches at this price. It's a lower amount when you buy them like this. So you get the best deal on the initial buy-in. Now, core is great for a single person. Advanced is really great for a family. And I've also signed up couples with the core, and I have signed up single people with the advanced. So it really just depends on the person's situation. But you really want to ask yourself, how many people in the household are going to be wearing the patches? Because that is going to really help you pick the best way for you to sign up. And then, of course, there's the premium. The premium allows you to get 20 sleeves for basically $87.50 a sleeve, which is the best deal. And it's the most popular way people sign up. And, even I've had people sign up for premium that don't do the business, that they just wanted those patches on hand, and because they have a big family and they wanted to be sharing them, and they were able to do that. So there's really so many different rhymes and reasons to why people sign up for however they sign up, but this is going to get you the best deal. And the person who invited you here today will be able to explain more about the different packages and what will, be right for you. So I'm going to stop sharing and just go to questions.